Right, so for those of you that are catching the replay, I am making it a point to go live every Sunday at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time through the month of August, because I know all of us homeschool parents are kind of gearing up for that back to school year. A lot of people have questions. Maybe it's your first year homeschooling. And so I'm getting on here and just kind of answering some questions, getting to know you guys a little bit. So my name is Leilani. I am a former public and private school teacher. I now do evaluations for the state of Florida. I've been doing those now for 10 years. Yep, 10 years. And almost more than I was a teacher. Actually, they're even. Both were 10. 10 years in the public school system, 10 years doing the evaluations. And I also teach at a homeschool co-op. I've also been homeschooling my kids for the 10 years. And it feels like, preschool's homeschool, right? Preschool's homeschool, even though you don't turn in all your paperwork to the district, it's still the day they come out of your womb, it's homeschool, because you're schooling them at home, teaching them how to eat, all those things. You're homeschooling. So, very super excited. I have a handful of questions that I'm going to address tonight, but a couple things. If you have a question, feel free to put it in the chats. I'm going to try to get to it. If you have a question for next week and you're watching the replay and you want me to get to that, put it in the comments down below here, or sometime around Wednesday in my community tab. I'm going to go ahead and put a post up saying that I need some questions. Also, if you're watching this video live, if you give me a thumbs up, it's going to push it out to more people. That's kind of the YouTube thing. So if you give me a thumbs up, more people will get notified that there's a live on, and remind some people that we're interested in doing it to jump on. So there was one other thing. Oh, timestamps. So since these do get a little bit long, sometimes I know that people want to skip ahead. So last week I did the same thing. I'm going to go through when I'm done and put timestamps in the comment section, not in the description box, but in the comment section with the questions and things that I address. So I'm trying to keep this one today to an hour. We have summer camp tomorrow, and I have a video going up tomorrow morning. I organized a collaboration, and I have the video going up tomorrow, except I forgot and thought it was Thursday, and then I realized it was actually tomorrow. And the collaboration is on different disabilities, how these parents homeschool them. So I'm doing one on Down syndrome, and then there's several other people doing them on like ADHD, autism, different ones. And so it's just going to be a gigantic playlist that people can reference. I think it's going to be really good for those people who are, I have a lot of people that watch my channel that are really, they're in training, like they're college students learning how to be therapists or special education teachers. So that's something that I thought would be good to reference. And also, let's say a parent finds one on autism, but their kid also has ADHD, or they have another kid that has ADHD. They can then see some suggestions from other parents, and maybe even get to know other parents, follow their channels, that kind of thing. So that's kind of how we work on YouTube. So I think it's going to be a really good playlist. So I'm excited. I totally forgot it was tomorrow, and I have the video filmed. I just haven't edited it yet. So after we're done with this, I'm going to jump right on my computer and finish editing. So that's my plan. But I will try to stay for all of y'all's questions. So like I said, I have about 6 questions that were asked of me for today. And like I said, if you want to, just throw them up in the comments and I'll get to them as we go. Okay, so the first question, I thought this would be like kind of a, no, maybe I'll wait for the last one. So let me do this one. The personal one, I'm gonna wait a little bit. So let's do this one first. Sorry, I'm leaving you guys, making you guys wait. Okay, so Belinda asked, how do you deal with disruptions during lessons, read alouds, or independent work from the kids? Do any of your kids get angry and yell, tantrum about school? I feel like they just don't want to do school. It's not too hard or too easy, I don't think. If so, what are some ideas and help? And also, I thought this one kind of applied. The one problem I'm having is working with my older ones while still helping my little guy. Someone always needs help. We don't seem to have any independent work. Okay, so I felt like those kind of went together. The first one's more addressing angry, yelling, temper tantrums about school. So there's a lot of little things that could be going on there. It's really hard to assess because I can't see it. But okay, I'm just going to take some hypothetical ideas here. So I have 4 kids, so they all need help with school, and sometimes I have to. Okay, I'm thinking about that other question. So I have 4 kids, and they all need help with school. Sometimes they jump in and say, Mom, while I'm in the middle with another. So I really try to emphasize the idea of wait, skip the problem, go to the next problem, or find another subject, put that one on hold. I'm going to get to you after I'm done with your brother. I do notice that I do a lot of jumping with the kids. Like I'll jump in between them and I'll have them somewhat close together. So I'll go to one, work with them a little bit, go to another, work with them a little bit, come back to this one, work with them a little bit, go check. I'm going to get to your question in a second. Yes. Sorry. If you start putting them in the comments, give me a second. So I'll jump around between the kids. That's one of the things that I do, really emphasizing that, wait your turn. I'm working with your brother right now. I want to give you guys equal amount of time so we can get through what we need to get through. I care about you. I really emphasize that I care about your work. I care about what you're doing, and I want to make sure you're getting it right. So just skip over that assignment, go to another subject, or if it's a math problem, skip over that section and do another set of math problems. Disruptions during lessons, read alouds, or independent work from kids. So like a lot of those things kind of depend if the kid's trying to manipulate the situation, or if it's a situation where, like, you know, there's sensory processing type things where something's too loud or something's bothering them. And you kind of have to assess it. So sometimes there have been days where it just doesn't work, and I have to discipline the child that's causing problems. Okay, let me see if I can get my thoughts straight. So one example is we're doing a read aloud, right? And one of my children will not stop laying down on the couch. They keep laying down on the couch, kicking their sister, pulling the blanket, which never happens, right? Does anybody have that? That happens to me. Pulling the blanket, fighting over the things, so they're fighting, right? I have to stop what I'm doing and address the situation and then let them know that there's some kind of punishment attached to it. I've done that. I've also bribed him at the beginning, like, because I know, like, sometimes if a read aloud's happening, I'll say, okay, so for today's read aloud, you know, if you guys are good, at the end, we're going to go swimming. Or at the end, we're going to have whatever you want for lunch. Or whoever does the best gets to pick out whichever meal we eat for lunch. Or picks out what book we get to read next. You know, like, I play around with rewards here and there. Temper tantrums, meltdowns, throwing them on the floor. I mean, that's it. It's a play-by-play kind of situation where it's like, are they trying to manipulate the situation? Sometimes if they're older, you can tell them to go upstairs to their room and cool down. Like temper tantrums, working with them on some tools to help them regain control of themselves, because there are a lot of teaching tools that you can use to do that. The biggest thing is to always try to end on a happy note, and that comes from Naomi's, all of her therapists, from speech therapist, aqua therapist. She has 6 therapists. I know, it's crazy. I know. But they all communicate to each other. And all of them agree that if there's a bad day, don't let them be the ones to close it out. Find a way to bring them back in, and you be the one to close it out on a happy note. So I think that is the biggest thing, because then that will make them want, or it won't traumatize them. It'll make them want to come back. When it comes to angry yelling tantrums about school, don't call it, try to not call it school. Try to sneak it in there. Don't call it anything. Just say, hey guys, come here, let's do this. Or maybe the curriculum isn't working for them. Maybe there's something about the curriculum. So then you would probably want to have a conversation with them and say, why don't you like school? Let's talk about this. Not 2 minutes before school starts or before you decide to like do schooling type things. You want to have that conversation later in the day when everything's done, after dinner or something like that, to see if it's something like maybe the curriculum's too hard, or maybe they're a visual learner, but you're trying to do things auditorily. Those kind of things. You just have to assess what's going on there. So I think this is, I mean, there's a lot I could do. I could do a whole video, and it would be something I could go in and research. Do any of your kids get angry and yell? Yeah. That happens. That's also a form of manipulation. They don't want to do it. Why don't they want to do it? That's something to find out later, not in the moment. In the moment, you'd be like, we can talk about this later, but first we have to get this done right now. And I'm also reading a lot of Ginger Hubbard right now. So the first thing that comes to mind is, you know, what would she say? She would say, I can't even see, I'm still learning how to do the Ginger Hubbard stuff. Are you using self-control with your actions right now? Like questioning. Anyway, so I hope that answers that question. 7 and 8, age 7 and 8. Yeah, I would look to see, I mean, they can kind of, especially if they're girls. Girls tend to be a little bit more manipulating. Is it something that they're trying to get out of? Have you given in to them in the past? Like if they temper tantrum and say they don't want to do school, have you given in to them? Hi, Jessica. Sorry, I had to say hi because she comments quite frequently, and I just wanted to say hi. But I didn't read it. I didn't read what you wrote. I just saw your name pop up, and then like it fades off on my phone. So I will get to that in a second. All right. Okay. So coming back to the one problem I am having is working with my older ones while still helping my little guys. So that's the idea of I rotate. We don't seem to have independent work. Yeah. And yeah, that's hard. That's when you really have to rotate a lot with the core subjects, but then find a way to bring in like the sciences and the histories and even the Bible. Like you could do all of that as a family. What's another one you could do? Just really anything you could do, even Spanish or language or foreign language you could do as a family. I don't know, I have mentioned it. We started using TalkBox Mom for Spanish. And we are also doing the Homeschool Spanish Academy. We're doing both. And so that TalkBox Mom is, I mean, it's very Charlotte Mason inspired, but it's a whole family. Everybody sits together and we do it together. And so foreign languages you can do as a family. Usually that's more of a skill that you need to do every day. But math needs to be individual. You can't really do math as a full subject. You might be able to pull off Life of Fred, but that is always up for discussion. Math, well, you have to practice an instrument individually, and language arts needs to be, I would think, that's my opinion. Language arts need to be independent. Other than that, it's group. I would do groups to kind of help keep everybody together. That's what I would do. Or you could do the jumping between all of them. So, and I always like to set goals. Like I tell my kids, I want to get this, and this done by noon. And they know that. And they set their own goals. Like my son's constantly telling me he wants to get like these subjects done by a certain time. So yeah. Okay. I hope that helped answer your question. Kayla, how do you do chores with the chart? Do they have a set list or do they rotate what they do each week? Nope. I don't do any of that. I've tried chore charts in the past and I was so proud of myself to do it, But the reality, I think this comes down to my philosophy based on culture. So my husband's Puerto Rican, and culturally, even with me when I was a kid, I'm part Cuban. None of us speak Spanish. That's why we're learning Spanish. But culturally, it's this idea of you live in this house, you made the mess, you clean it up, it's your responsibility. So we have a system where we just, after breakfast, we break, everybody cleans. Lunch, after lunch, we break, everybody cleans. And usually dinner, everybody cleans. After each meal, we just all do full cleans. And then when it comes to their bedrooms and the bathrooms and like the detailed stuff, because, okay, we're really like Shabbat's really important for us, Sabbath. So what we do the day before Sabbath is we make sure, all right, it's the day before Sabbath, everything has to get cleaned. Your bedrooms, you have to vacuum, all the things. And that's part of their schooling. Like that's, how we do it. But I don't pay them. I don't do chore charts. We rotate. They each individually, like today I'm going to do dishes. You do the dishes today. I'll do this today. I'll do the ones in the sink if you do the ones in the dishwasher. So they kind of plan everything out. At this point, Naomi, actually, she jumps in and helps with all of it. My mother-in-law, she watches Naomi all day Tuesday. That's when I do most of my evaluations and any of my extra work. She loves, and most of the time Naomi's at therapy anyway, but she wants to be with her grandkids once a week. And so we have made that happen, and it works out perfectly because I want to work on my stuff once a week. So she gets them once a week. I get my stuff. We're happy. She cleaned houses for a living, and cleaning for her is super important. So she will spend, they do therapies all morning, they come home, and she teaches Naomi how to clean, how to fold laundry, how to do all those things. And she makes it really fun. And so now, as a result, this is none of my doing at all. As a result, I will wake up in the morning sometimes, and Naomi will be sitting in the loft area with the laundry basket flipped over and all the clothes folded. She will fold all the clothes. So I think instead of chore, we just do it as part of life. It's schooling. It's part of responsibility. So I don't do any chore charts. I don't do any set list. I don't do any rotations. I don't even mess with that. It's your house. You live here. You do it. I'm not getting paid to clean. You don't get paid to clean. If they want to get paid, then start a lemonade stand or find a way to do some entrepreneurial stuff. We have a lemonade stand that they do every single Friday from 4 to 8. And they have learned, like charted, how to, we did, like, they took a loan out from me. So I loaned them money. They got the supplies. They do subtraction. They do percentages. They've hired employees, AKA neighborhood kids, and they pay them a percentage of what the earnings are, and they keep track of everything. And so that's their money that they earned. And so there's been and we've been doing it consistently in the neighborhood every single Friday from 4 to 7. So we're getting those like people coming home from work, right? And like, oh, lemonade stand. And like a neighbor's making shirts for them. Like it's become like kind of a big deal. But they've probably just from the lemonade stand made like $50, $60 for themselves. And that includes like tithing and paying the neighbors and paying me back. That's like profit. So that's how they make money. I'm not going to pay them to do chores. So that's kind of our philosophy. Eventually they're going to mow lawns, but they have not gotten to that point yet. So that's kind of where we go. So how do you assess how your kids are doing academically? And so basically, for me, I just stay at their level. I do administer the PIAT, which is the Peabody Individual. Can't remember the acronym now. I should know this like off the top of your head. Peabody is Peabody Individual Assessment Test. Probably that's what it is. I'm making that up. I don't really know right off the top. The test is over there. It has reading recognition, reading comprehension, mathematics skills, general information, writing portion, and spelling. It is a test that a lot of people administer to kids who have a hard time doing Scantrons. It's an oral test, and you give it to them, and what's really neat about it is there's a lot of things that'll kind of give you red flags for, if there's dyslexia, and I'll pick it up really fast. I can't diagnose anything. I can't put anything on paper. But what I can say is they're displaying some, there's some red flags for dyslexia. Have you ever had them tested? You should probably, if this is something you're concerned about, it's up to you. Or you could just take my word for it and do, that's what, I don't have to tell them that, but like in the conversation, if it comes up, usually I tell them. Usually the reason they had me give the Peabody is because they're curious about some of these things. So we have a private conversation, everything from dyslexia to dysgraphia. Gifted's really easy to pick out with the Peabody, but it's really to pick out. Gifted, I've had a few students. They're fun to administer the Peabody because it goes really fast. Yeah, they get everything right, and then you're like, all right, and I don't have to do anyway. But so that I've used to assess kids and my kids. Another nationally normed test that I have used to assess, I've done Iowa, I've done Cat 5, I've done Terra Nova. But the thing is with assessments, why are you assessing your kids? Are you trying to meet the public school standards, the educational system standards? Or are you trying to see, okay, what level are they? Where are they struggling? Is there a weakness? Is there a hole that they're missing with their academics? What's the reason? So if you're trying to meet, or is it for college? That's another thing. People are wanting to make sure they're meeting certain requirements to get into college. So I think it's really important to see. Also, if you're trying to compare yourself with public school, I would never recommend the comparing one because all of our kids are different. All of them, were not created the same. The public school system itself, like the creation of the public school system was it's the Prussian model. It's, if you've read my book, I talk about it a little bit. It's the Prussian model, and it's the Prussian model of the educational system. The philosopher behind that is the same person that inspired the Nazi regime. The Prussian model also had the idea of having factory workers learn how to be obedient, be similar, basically the same, no individuality. Obviously, it doesn't work today in the public school system because our culture is very, very different. And that's why a lot of public schools are failing, because they're not changing the system itself. But that's a whole nother topic. And it's hard. It's not a good situation. There's a lot of things, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So trying to see their benchmark, seeing if they're meeting those benchmarks, because some parents will be like, oh, my kid's okay because they're in the 80th percentile, or oh, my kid's okay because they got the 56th percentile. Just because they got that level doesn't, okay, like why? I don't know. It's really hard to just, the way that I assess every single day with my kids. Like realistically, the way that I assess my kids every single day. Are they improving? Are they able to grasp the concept? Are they able to explain it back to me? Are they able to, do all the things? Are they ready for the next level? Is it too hard? Is it frustrating them because this is not their teaching style? Do they not like this curriculum? Is this because this is too visual and they need something more auditory? I assess them every single day. That's why, so I always do those videos where it says curriculum picks for the next year. And I do have in mind kind of sort of what I want to do for the next year. But realistically, and I'll briefly mention this in my videos, realistically, I change constantly, because if my kids are not doing well with the curriculum, for whatever reason, I don't care if we're in it for 2 weeks, I will kind of try to manipulate it a little bit or pull back on it a little bit, or maybe 1 year, this summer is a perfect example. I had all these plans to do physical science with apologia and chemistry. I had these plans to do the Middle Ages. But what happened is as the summer progressed, They had no desire to do physical science and chemistry. What they wanted to do was they wanted to learn about creationism. They wanted to learn about astronomy. Again, my other son became obsessed. So my older son did astronomy, and then my younger son got into it, and my daughter started getting into it. So we did astronomy again, but we like touched on things really quick. It was like we took a month to do that, and then we did a lot of stuff with creationism and what else did we did, well, we're going to be doing forensics, but then Middle Ages. So we did a little bit of writing and poetry, and then we're going to be doing Middle Ages after summer camp. We're going to finally get into the Middle Ages, but we scrapped physical science and chemistry because they had no interest. And I'm not going to push because I feel like the sciences at a younger age, actually I feel sciences in general, like you should unit study it. Like I don't see the purpose of doing general science, but this is my opinion. This is totally 100% my opinion. I don't see the purpose in doing general science straight through. And then you're repeating little sections like, let's learn a little bit of anatomy, and then let's learn a little bit of physical science, and let's learn a little bit of astronomy, and a little bit, you don't get deep with those. But if you take 8 weeks, 3 months, and just study astronomy, how much deeper are you going to get into that subject? How much more are the kids going to learn? Because the kid is going to learn. That's how kids learn. They compartmentalize. That was something that, I don't know if you know Debbie Strayer, the late Debbie Strayer. She was a speaker, a homeschool speaker. She was an evaluator. She was my personal hero. I was so sad when she passed away, but that's a conversation that we had, was how kids compartmentalize. She wrote the curriculum, which I love, especially for kids that are not disabilities per se, but like kids that need a little bit extra more time to learn things. Kids that may have dyslexia or dysgraphia, or any of those blank, fill in the blank. It is called, I always forget the name, but I know it. I got to get it on my forefront of my head. Learning language arts through literature. And they're usually people who use those books will find that their child isn't maybe in 2nd grade, but they're using the 4th grade book because it's specifically written for kids that need a little bit more extra time to learn. Really good series. And she wrote that because her daughter needed that time to learn. She also does geography. She did Geography Matters. I'm sorry. She did do Geography Matters, which is another curriculum. Her daughter has now taken over that business. So, and they do conventions. So you might see them if you go to, I don't know if they were at Teach Them Diligently or the Great Homeschool Convention conferences, but, so I felt like I totally went off track. I'm like, yeah, sorry. Going back to what I was saying. I'm trying to backtrack. I don't remember what I was saying, but I think I answered that question having to do with assessing your kids, and especially with general information on some of those tests. Like that section has always made me very angry, because when it comes to sciences and when it comes to history and geography, right? Who's really to say what a kid knows when it comes to general information? Like you can't, how do you assess that stuff? Like basic information, like maybe the kid hasn't learned anything about physics, right? And you're gonna ask him about kinetic energy, right? But they haven't done physics yet. But then again, like people are, well, that's why you got to use a general science curriculum. But then why are you putting yourself to the standards of the educational system? Like, why is that important? More important than looking at how your child reads or learns. So I'm all about, how is my child learning? I'm going to assess them according to their standards, their individuality, and pay attention to them, because I think that's how God created everything. Like, everybody's unique. Everybody has talents. Someone who's really good at, engineering and building may not be the best writer. A lot of engineers have really bad handwriting. So, and we don't want to bring down their self-esteem just because they're not meeting their standards in that other academic field. right? So they may be amazing at building things, right? But their cursive is awful. So why are you going to point out your cursive is awful, and make them feel horrible about themselves because, or their grammar is awful, or their writing skills are awful, and then they forget, what their passion is. They just get dragged down instead of trying to really focus on that passion and building them up in that area. Like, we had a conversation with my son today. Now you got me on a roll. We had a conversation with my son today, right? He has a gift of writing, and this is where I'm going to display some of my horrible parenting skills. So bear with me. He has a gift of writing. Wonderful, amazing gift. He comes up with stories. He's the one that loves IAW. He gets so descriptive and detailed, and just his stories are beautiful, right? So this is so personal. I took away electronics indefinitely because I feel like he was addicted. And that he's not he's not that bad addicted, but I told him, I feel like it's causing you to stumble. Okay, so indefinitely until your attitude shifts, you have no electronics. He would kill me if I told you this. But I mean, we all do this, right? It's parenting. And he said, well, what am I going to do? I'm so bored with my life. What am I going to do? And I'm like, right. You are an amazing writer. You have a gift that so many people don't have. He's like, yeah, but I don't have the computer to type. Then write it in a journal. He's like, but you tell me all the time, Mom, my handwriting's bad. I'm not going to write because you're going to look at it and you're going to criticize my handwriting. And I'm like, okay. I promise you that I will not criticize your handwriting at all. I will. I promise you. So then that conversation ended at that point because he was like, okay. He hasn't written anything though yet. Today we mostly cleaned the house and got ready for summer camp tomorrow. And he went outside and played with his friends, and they built a fort. They built a fort in the front yard with boxes and tents. So that was fun. And they cleaned it up and put everything away perfectly. I was actually really proud. But that's what they did. So now that I'm done with my rant, I hope I answered questions. I'm going to check to see what you guys that are on right now are saying. Okay, so there's been comments. I'm sorry, I'm ignoring them because I know when I read them, I start getting distracted and I lose my train of thought. So, all right, so I've got hello. A lot of people saying hi. Yay. Can you homeschool while RVing, traveling in SoHal? Yes, you can totally homeschooling with RVing. I am so jealous. If I could ever get my husband to do that. He is a homebody. He loves his family, and he loves being around his family, and we're not RVing, and I love it. There are YouTube channels of people RVing. The only drawback, well, first of all, there's so many pluses. Let me just talk about the pluses. Not only homeschooling RV are you going to see the world, you're going to learn geography, you're going to learn different cultures. You don't even have to have a textbook. Just enjoy getting out there and meeting people. The experience is kinesthetic and it's learning 100%. You can document it all if you do portfolios and take pictures if you want to, but you can just document it and say, went to this museum, went here, went there. It's schooling, period. And schooling is just, what is it? It's just learning something new. Yeah, that's first thing. Second thing is that you don't have to clean too much. I'm really big and jealous. I'm a minimalist at heart. I really am. So to me, that's huge. Just learning different, there's so many experiences that you have with REing that, and then, you could have your math textbook, you could pull out your math and your language arts and just quickly do it and then move on to all the fun stuff and the learning, going to museums, going to on nature walks, going on hikes, all those things. Okay, so really quick before I move on, Sue just wrote something. She put CLE, writing. I don't know what that CLE stands for, so if you could clarify that would help. In Florida, this is a quick answer. Florida doesn't have any mandatory dates. They don't ask. They just do a portfolio evaluation, so you don't have to keep a planner. No mandatory days. Okay, so going back to the RVing, the only downside of RVing is the friends. They don't build deep, meaningful relationships with friends. And I've ran into two examples with kids at the homeschool co-op. Like their parent specifically puts them into a homeschool co-op because they want their kid to have friends, and they make friends. When of course when I find out they're an RV family, they're like, it was great, but I don't have any friends. So the only thing I would suggest is if you could get like a Zoom something, where they can connect with their friends while you're traveling, or like have a set time where they get on Zoom or get on a what is it? I don't know, like some kind of group where they can see each other, Messenger, where they can see each other on a regular basis so they can continue with those friends. And especially if they don't have siblings, it's really hard. But other than that, RVing is great. It's like, survival stuff. And if you're registered in one particular state, you can keep that home address in that state and register with that district. Like that's your home base. So I actually have a couple of families that do that. And I have one that they're sailors, and they actually they're registered in Florida, but they spend most of their time out at sea, traveling wherever they want to travel. And maybe they're in Florida 2 weeks a year, but their home base is Florida. So when I do their evaluations, I do it on Zoom, and they may be in a foreign country. I've had situations where, many times I've had kids, I had one family, they had to do their evaluation at a really odd time. And it was almost like we had to flip-flop time zones. But anyway, I have to work around those. But yeah, you can totally do that. You can pretty much do anything when you homeschool. Just make sure that if you are an American citizen, you should be registered with a state and a district as your home base. I know there are parents that don't. But that's another story. I would suggest, the homeschool laws in most states, you find the state that you're from, they're really easy to follow. And most of the laws are on your side. Well, except for a few. But Florida is really good. So there's that. So I would love to RV. Okay. I think I'm getting better at doing these lives. I'm feeling more confident. Like, this is good. Okay, Jessica, I wanted to pop on and say hi. Hi. I'm loving your book so far. The chapter about family and community was a message everyone needed to hear. Yeah, and I talked about that in my last video too. I don't know if the thumbnail wasn't that great, but it's called, the title when it pops up, it says, It's Lonely. I don't know if that's a good thumbnail. I was playing around with that one. And I'm also trying to build that specific talk because I'm wondering with the community aspect, if that would be something that would be good to submit to like conventions so I could speak on that topic more because I think community is so important. But having like a deep community with others and living your life together and building each other up. And it's something that I think a lot of us are lacking. And I'm not talking just homework. I'm talking like people in general. Even everyone, especially everyone. And yeah, everyone. We're so big. And I know in Florida, I've noticed in bigger cities, I know this sounds very, but I've noticed this, like in big cities, like my area or Orlando or what's another big, Miami, Dade City. It seems like they're going to different things all the time. They have like 5 different co-ops, 3 dance lessons a week. Their other kid does baseball. And they have like all these little tiny groups of friends that they never build deep relationships with. And as a result, it becomes very superficial. It becomes very fake. And you're always just sharing, like you're sharing a facade. They don't get to know who you really are. And you're not able to rub up against each other, iron sharpen iron. You're not able to just develop into a better person. And also even like talking about church communities, people jump from church to church to church. Like nobody ever finds a home because everyone's like, oh, I have a problem with this at the church, because they assume church people are perfect, which I think when it comes to like, I'm just going to be honest with any religion. We were talking about this today. The Christian religion, we're the only religion where we totally admit that we are so incredibly flawed that we don't deserve anything good. That's why we need a savior. And a lot of every other religion is somehow based on works, while the Christian faith is not. And so there's not going to be a perfect church anywhere you go. And it's going to be flawed. But people would go from church to church, looking for something that they're not going to find, because we're all messed up. So instead, grow your roots in one co-op or one church or one place where those roots grow deep. People see your flaws, you see their flaws, and then you have to deal with all of that. So there's that. I'm going to go back up to the comments. It's such a, so go watch that video if you haven't, and give me seriously, give me feedback. Let me know, seriously, is it something that an audience at a convention would want to hear? Because I want to do speaking engagements. Or is it something that, just be honest with me, saying you know what, this is not that great of a subject. I think you should skip it and focus on something else. Be honest with me, because I don't want to waste my time. I want to make sure I'm bringing people what they want. I've really changed my perspective on a lot of things. Just, it's more about what you guys need as opposed to what I think you need. So be honest with me. Okay. So, okay, please make a video about that specific topic. I read hers when it went through, so I know what she's talking about. I think parents with kids in the public school, sorry, this fades away after a while. I think kids in the public school, I think parents with kids in the public school system should know. Yeah, I'm speaking at a congregation on that, for back to school type stuff. And the topic is on how to pray for our youth, but I'm going into a little bit of that. So yeah, I know, I'm kind of excited. Okay. I'm really excited, actually. I feel like I'm just starting out, just trying to, it's hard because I can't do too many speaking engagements, so I'm not pushing myself out there too much because I have to take care of my kids and they come first. But if I can get 5 a year, I'm happy. I will know that I made it if somebody pays me to come. Oh, Joy's on here. Joy. Okay, sorry, I saw a comment from her. I love Joy. She's at my co-op. All right. Okay, I wonder if she's still on here. Okay, hi, just joined. My thing is how I'm going to fit in the different curriculum for different subjects throughout the year. How I'm going to fit in the different curriculum for different subjects throughout the year. Don't overload yourself and be realistic. And if you realize partially through that you can't do it, reevaluate yourself. So it's back to reevaluating you and your kids every single day. Yes, I'll put the link to but if you go to my channel, it's literally the last video I made. Yeah, if you'll know, you'll find, it's like finding a sweet spot. It's almost like trial and error when it comes to finding all this different curriculum, but don't overload yourself. At the same time, don't overload yourself because you feel like you have to meet all of these benchmarks and all of these goals that you laid out. Oh my gosh, I'm going to tell you about an evaluation. I hope I'm not going to mention names. Her evaluation, of course, everybody's nervous when they sit down with me because, I don't know, they worry that I'm going to say that they didn't, I never say you didn't do good enough in my evaluation. Everybody does an amazing job. Everybody wins. Seriously, because you're the parent, you decide how you homeschool your child and you decide what it's supposed to look like. And the mere fact that you actually scheduled an evaluation means that you actually did something. So that's why I said everybody passes with flying colors if that's a thing for evaluations, which is not, because there's no pass fail. You just get your paperwork because you fulfilled the legal requirements. But I did this evaluation. It was the most amazing. All she did with her kids. So in the morning they woke up they literally copied passages from scripture, and then they would discuss the scripture together. So there's comprehension, there's reading, there's handwriting, there's spelling involved, because when you're doing copy work, there's some spelling involved. She did have a couple pages of spelling lists that that she showed me. I believe she did. I can't remember now. I think she did. But, and what else? She had hymns that they would practice. So all of her stuff was just schoolwork based off of scripture. And then she had a math curriculum. I don't remember what it was. But and then they had field trips. And then there was some other stuff. But that was basically it. Okay, so one of my personal favorite Bible teachers is Tim Hague. And we actually went up to a retreat. And I remember having a conversation with him, and he was like, all you need is the Bible. You've got spelling, you've got vocabulary, you've got comprehension, you've got reading, you've got, what's the other, comprehension? You've got Bible. That's it. You got all your language arts right there. And it's so deep and so rich. That's it. If you don't have to go much deeper. And then like a math curriculum for the littles. And then of course, as you get older, you could read some good literature, add that in, discussion. But if you build your foundation on the scriptures, then everything just kind of falls in place after that. So history, yeah. So don't overwhelm yourself with all this curriculum, because you have to feel like you're meeting certain goals, and you're going to get yourself so busy and so overwhelmed that it just, it falls apart. I'm guilty of doing it a lot, actually. A lot. So that's kind of why that's one of my big convictions this year. And I think a lot of that conviction comes from FOMO. And I've talked about FOMO. It's that fear of missing out. You feel like you're forgetting something. Like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about poetry. I have to get a poetry curriculum. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about learning the Middle Ages. And you start stressing yourself out, and then you're going out there and you're finding that curriculum and you're shoving it in, and your kids aren't learning anything because they're microwave. They aren't getting the deep richness that they should be getting and enjoying. And then they're going to yell and they're going to fight and temper tantrums happen. But it's that getting into the things that they enjoy and soaking in them and letting them have a say on what curriculum that they should be doing is another thing that's totally a side note. But going back to her statement, sorry, you get to see my finger. Fit in different, just joining my thoughts. My thing is how I'm going to fit in the different curriculum for different subjects throughout the year. But you also have a year to do it. That's another thing. We have a whole entire year, and that's a lot of time. So you'd be surprised at how much you could do, especially if you unit study stuff. It goes fast, I think. That's just my opinion. Thank you so much for answering the question about the PIA. Okay, thank you very much for answering my question. I appreciate the day-to-day tips. I'll look into the PIA as well. Yeah, and I administer it. I can administer PIA out of state if you need it too, because that's nationally normed. But I don't know, because I don't know if it's required for your state specifically, and your state may require a certified teacher in that state to administer. So that's kind of, if you're just doing it to find out, where they are, then I can do that. Anyway, yes, it's true. I use standardized testing in order to quiet those family members. That's what Joy said. I've actually done her sons. But I get that, Joy. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's true. Hi, what do you think about, okay, it's CLE, so Christian Light Education Reading. I have not done it myself with my kids, but I think it's good. It's not one that I'm opposed to. I know, you know who uses Christian Light? You might want to, oh man, sorry, I'm trying to move it and it disappeared on me. Megan, Pennies and Salt, she uses Christian Light Education. So you might want to go go to her channel and just type in Christian Light Education, pennies and salt, and see what comes up, and then ask a question in the comment section and see what she says. She'll check because she checks. Okay. But I know what I've seen from it. It's been good. Okay. In Florida, how many? I answered that. Joy's still there. Also, my daughter felt more comfortable when family would ask what she was learning or how the school year was going. She then would and could say awesome, as my test scores said so. I can see her doing that totally. I could totally see her. I know her daughter too. I could totally see her doing that. I love her. Okay. Gladys, what would you recommend as an evaluator? What would you recommend as an evaluator to a mom who has a child who is severely behind in math and reading? I didn't know the severity until I gave her a placement test. This will be her first year. Okay. Okay. There's a lot of different things. Joy, you're still there. I didn't know if you were answering their question. Joy's very knowledgeable, so if she jumps on here and says something, she might have some really good advice. Okay. I think there's a lot of things there. Okay. Oh, she wrote more. What would you recommend as an evaluator to a mom who has a child who is severely behind in math and reading? I didn't know the severity until I gave her a placement test. This would be our first year. I took her out, and now I feel like I won't catch up. She's supposed to be going into 8th grade. I feel like I failed. Nope, you didn't fail. As a mom for not taking her out when I first noticed. I would see if it is a learning disability, because then for some reason, for some people, when they realize that it is a disability, whether you do a professional evaluator or you do your research yourself, there are so many parents out there that know that their kids are dyslexic, but they don't do the formal evaluation. They can just, we have Google. We can look it up. There's stuff online. Find out if it's similar to one of those. And then there's a piece, because then you can start finding direction specific to that disability. And with math, you have to kind of also figure out if it is, because there is one specific to math. Dyscalculia, I think I'm saying, I'd always butcher that one. Dyscalculia, I think is how you say it. Look to see I would just still look to see some of their tips on it. Like, just research it, just read up on that. I have only worked with one student that has that. But, so I don't really know that much about it. But as a parent, we're not stupid. I don't know why, as parents, we think that teachers are smarter than us just because that teacher status is so not true. So not true. So we have to remember that we're capable of learning and we're capable of educating our kids better than a lot of these school teachers. And plus we care, and we're working one-on-one, or like if we have 6 kids, like, we got 6 kids, but that's still less than 24 kids. And we love them. They're blood. So do the research, look it up, and take some of their tips. I would look at your curriculum. See, I don't know what you're using for the curriculum. I've heard good things. See, and it kind of depends on learning style too. I would look into Matthew C. That one's a hard one though to jump into though. But some people can. See, that's the thing. Everybody's different. I could say, oh, it's really good for this, but some people it doesn't work. I know Keys 2. There's a series called Keys 2. And they'll have like keys to algebra, keys to percentages, keys to, and they fill in the blank. A lot of parents really like that because it's done kind of like, okay, we're going to do percentages, or we're going to do fractions, we're going to do, and so it kind of groups it like unit studies. That's kind of how Matthew C works. Teaching textbooks is another one that's really good. I would look at those. I would start with those. If anybody has any suggestions too, like leave them in the comments. So those are my thoughts. But do not worry about her catching up. See, that's the thing. She's supposed to be going in the 8th grade, and I feel like I failed as a mom. Like, you did not fail. Like, the fact that you actually care tells everybody that you did not fail. And the other thing, too, is every single one of us have had that feeling that we failed. I had that feeling today as well, which I already shared with you with the whole cursive handwriting thing. Because I'm like, man, I wish I would have never criticized his handwriting all the time. And I really did. That was tough. So, yay, hi. So there's that. But the biggest thing is don't beat yourself up about it, because you did finally notice, and you want to do something about it. So, and even like maybe math's not her thing. How many of us do calculus? Like, seriously, how many of us are still doing algebra? Like, and now, like, do we really need to go to college to... Elon Musk did not go to college, right? He didn't go to college. College is overrated, I think. That's just my opinion, too. I'll say that. Some kids need it for their career. They need college for their career, and I get that. My son wants to be an engineer. He's going to need to go to college. But if it's something where they want to be... I don't know. I can't think of anything right now. I got distracted. The comment popped up, and then I thought about that. They want to be a plumber, which, quite frankly, plumbers make a lot of money. Like, a lot of money. They want to be a plumber. They don't need to go to college, and they can still raise a family and take care of her. Thank you. Zahara, thank you. She's asleep right now. So that's always something to think about. Okay, I'm scrolling through. All right. Send us a link. Yes, I'll put it in the comments. It's the last one. It's called Emily. Yeah, and give me feedback. Like, I want some good constructive criticism. I would love that. I am, like, you know, I'm really excited about it. Okay. That'll probably help his handwriting. Yeah, you're probably right. I know you're talking about, like, me saying he did a good job with his handwriting. Yeah. And also him writing stories again. Yes. Okay. Love that. Okay. Gladys, she will catch up. See, even Jessica's saying that she's going to catch up. So true. Thank you. You're doing awesome. Thank you. I'm, you know what it is I'm not staring at the comments. When the comments distract me, then I'm brain dead. But I do read them. Thank you for answering my question. We really appreciate it. You're on fire. Thank you, Jessica. Joy. When they are old enough to really understand goals, involve them with their school year. Yes. Things are different when they are invested, and they will be more open to discussion or to discuss what is and not working. She's right. Joy has a lot of wisdom. Joy, I need to interview you on my YouTube channel. Also, remember that if you feel like your child is behind, taking them out of school has now changed the environment, and you are now working one-on-one on a one-on-one basis. Yeah, that's true too. Hello. Oh, Joy. Joy says, your child will be back on track in no time, and you will be able to understand their stumbling blocks and help them gain tools to help them. They will catch up in no time. Yes, they do. Welders too. Yeah, I have a friend that's a welder. Okay, so the best is, yes, Naomi's fast asleep. She's very happy right now. She's in happy dreamland. Okay, so I answered everybody's questions. I didn't answer the one that I said I was going to answer, and this was from Summer because she was curious, and she's like, oh, really quick, Saunders, if people go sailing, how do they have a home base address? Just curious. I don't know. They have a home. Maybe they own a home because their residents are in that state. I mean, if you're working on a sailboat, you probably got some money stashed. That's just me, my opinion, and my thoughts, my critical thinking. I'm just thinking if like you live your life on a sailboat. Oh, maybe not. Or maybe not. I don't know. But somehow some of them are registered with the district. So I'm speculating. I don't know. That's not for me. That's not for me to judge, because if they say, well, we're registered in Florida, I'm going to go, okay. And they give me an address. I go, okay. And I do what I need to do to help them fulfill their homeschool requirements with the state. So I try not to pry unless, and I will admit lately, and I don't mind at all. Some of my, not all of them, I'm not going to say all of them, but some of my portfolio evaluations have become like counseling sessions. I'm not a counselor. I am not certified as a counselor. But I've been hearing a lot of personal information, which is fine. It just makes me more like, oh, we need to read, like, it makes me more on fire because people get really fearful of the public school system and of the state and that losing their kids. And they worry about these things they don't need to worry about. Thank you, Joy. If you are earning income and filing taxes, that is usually an address you are using, which would be your home base. She's also an accountant too. Okay, so Gladys says, thank you, everyone. I appreciate all your comments. I want to give my kids the best education as possible. I've done so much research, and I hope we have a great school year. Yes, we're all going to have amazing school years. I'm so super excited. Okay, so I'm going to close with, unless anybody else has any questions, because Summer asked, thank you. Summer asked me, she's like, you need to tell people why your channel is called Living with Eve. I know I'm switching gears. That's exactly right. We know they probably have 3 houses in Florida or any other place. My son's evaluation is due on January 3rd, but I was wanting to get it done in November. Would that be too early for Florida? No, technically no. I know that the early done in November. Yeah, no, that's not too early. November, no, that's not too early. Call me. But no, I'm serious. November's not too early. They should accept it. I know there was once a problem with one of the districts where they took their evaluation and it was like, it was due in March and it was, I don't know, I'm just picking a month, but it was due, like, for example, due in March and they did it in January. And the school district came back and said, well, we want it within the month of its due date. And then we came back and said, well, that's not what the laws say. And if I'm not mistaken, they may have contacted Brenda Dickinson. So if you don't know her, you need to know her. She is HEF, is it HEF, I believe? She's our lobbyist in Florida, and she's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I spent some time at the FPA talking to her, and she was just like, I just want to educate parents with what's going on the legal side of things. And she just filled me in, and I love her so much. And I've actually helped her with some things. So, and I will continue if I can to help her. So anyway, she's amazing. Brenda Dickinson with HEF, but that's for Florida. Yes. Thank you, Joy. I forgot what it stands for all of a sudden. It's like Homeschool Education Foundation. I know you can also donate it to her. Her husband, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was a lawyer, and he had passed away. And so that's now what she does, is just lobby for homeschoolers. So, okay. So the last question, and I'll close unless anybody, like I said, somebody asked me, what does living with Eve, this is Summer, she asked me, what does living with Eve mean? And because everybody seems to ask me this question, and I never get a chance to answer it. So Eve is not my name. It is not my daughter's name. Eve is what I want. Hey, Reagan. Oh my gosh, Reagan. Sorry. I'm sorry. She popped on. Anyway, so Eve was I wanted Naomi's name to be Eve, but my husband wouldn't let me name her Eve. So now that's her middle name. And so the only way I can, reconcile or be okay with Naomi. No, I was fine with Naomi. As one of my friends in the hospital said, which one sounds better when you yell it? Naomi Eve or Eve Naomi? And so I finally like caved and went with Naomi. I think there was another name we tried out too. Because I didn't name her until after she was born, like on day 2, because I couldn't figure out a name. Anyway, and my husband couldn't. We couldn't agree on it. My husband was involved. That's why she wasn't named Eve. If it was just me, her name would be Eve. Anyway, so her middle name is Eve. And so what happened is when I started, I wanted to do a podcast. So I tried doing a podcast and I named it Living with Eve. There is no podcast anymore. If you try to find it, you're not gonna find anything. Because I realized I like YouTube better. I like this. And the podcast lasted for 2 episodes. It's gone now. You can't find it. So Eve, it means life. And I feel like when she was born, there was a sense of life, more life in our family, if that makes sense. Like, and the fact that she's alive too, just from like the heart surgery, but she brings so much life into our family, and each and every one of us are affected by her life, in making our walk with the Lord stronger, because we have to work through a lot of our issues and imperfections and judgment and patience, and all these fruits are developing. Okay, so there's that. But there's also this idea of the Garden of Eden, right? And it's this idea that none of us as homeschool parents, so there's also there's like meaning behind it. None of us as homeschool parents, none of us as parents with special needs kids are perfect. Neither are the siblings. Nobody's perfect. And it's this idea that we need to continue on this journey. We need a Messiah, but we need to continue on this journey to keep being transparent with each other, working through problems, working through things like that. And that's where the background of it comes from. So there's like these layers of meaning. And so a lot of people are like, well, why don't you just change it to your name? And I'm like, no, because it has like really strong, significant meaning to me. The imperfection, the fact that it means life, and her being born into our family has just brought on so much. I feel like instead of, there's so much like just between our family that she's brought so much life. And that's her middle name. It is her middle name. So, yeah. And the other thing too, with the YouTube channel, one of my things is I don't want to be afraid to admit that I'm wrong on this journey. I want to continue to move forward. If I'm wrong about something, I don't want to hold back, because I do make mistakes. So as a parent, like, I can think of several right now, and I usually talk about it on my channel. I'll just be like, no, I screwed up. I made a mistake. But we all make mistakes, and so I like being transparent because I'm human. Okay, so then Reagan jumped on, and Reagan asked me, how's Naomi's school and potty training going? Potty training is still happening. But no, it's actually really good. It's actually really good. She is becoming more aware of needing to go to the bathroom, and it's just, I don't know, it's just a very slow process, and I have to be consistent with her. So yeah, and then schooling, she's learning how to read. She's doing so happy to learn, and I have a video already recorded of her first day with it, and she did amazing. And so we just have been doing it every single day, and she loves it. Loves it, to the point where like I have a box, and I'll say, do you want to do your box? She's like, she gets so excited. And we have lots of little gadgets and stuff that's part of the program, like a pointer stick that she uses. And even her speech therapist noticed that her communication in general is just really growing. So, and actually the video that I still have to finish editing, I'm like looking, my computer's right there with my face frozen because I'm in the middle of editing. The one that's coming out tomorrow talks about how I'm using that program, and I talk about the program, and I talk about how I'm teaching It's teaching kids with Down syndrome how to read, basically. It's a collab, and there's lots of other moms involved with the collaboration. You're going to see ADHD. You're going to see, I have 2 different with autism, and then you're just going to see a bunch of different moms. It's just all of us sharing our perspective on how to raise our kids with that. So, yay. So I think that's it. Thank you, guys. Yeah, thank you, Joy. I feel like no, I haven't told you, have I? I never knew how to like put it into words, like what the title of Living with Eve means, but yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna jump off. It's been 70 minutes, and I am probably gonna go downstairs and get something to drink, probably water, and then I'm gonna do my video, and you'll see it tomorrow morning. Oh, I teach 2 adults with Downs, and the young lady loves to read storybooks. That's awesome. That's really cool, Reagan. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. All right, thank you, guys. Oh, that is so cute. I call that flourishing. Yep. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. All right, I'm going to head out. It was so nice talking with you guys. I'll be here next Sunday at 9:30 as we're gearing up for our back to homeschooling. Some of you are still in the trenches because you're around school. I do that. But really excited to get you guys geared up for an amazing, amazing year. So hope to see you next week. If not, sometime. All right, take care. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. All right. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments and I'll get to it.